After the small handful of titles released around the Game Boy Color's date of launch, we'd have to wait a good 3 weeks before any new games would find their way onto shelves. Mid-November 1998 saw the launch of the system in North America, with a kind of paltry collection of launch titles. Pocket Bomberman, which we'll look at next week, finally gave North Americans the opportunity to play the different side-on platform approach to the Bomberman franchise that Japan and Europe got on the original Game Boy, but it was hardly a new game. Game & Watch Gallery 2 was, again, merely a colorized version of Game Boy Gallery 2 that DMG owners in Japan had towards the end of 1997, and of course Tetris DX gave us a color version of that game. Clearly the hope was that Tetris could do the business again, because Nintendo really didn't offer up all that much in the way of intrigue to go along with their new system, which might have soured the punch from the off were it not for the backwards compatibility breathing a bit of new life into players' older games. Nevertheless, we'd not see Wario Land 2 get its colorized port until March of the following year, and Dragon Warrior Monsters, being an RPG which we all know Westerners hate, didn't appear until the turn of the new millennium. December 1998 did see a fair few tide-overs released, but there were no real big hitters for the US color library until Link's Awakening DX just before Christmas, which, again, was not really a new game. It's a wonder why anyone bought the new Game Boy. Pokémon was still a colossal deal, I suppose, which couldn't have hurt. Japan, however, had no such issues, and in short order, developers moved over to the Color console with barely a misstep, churning out plenty of mid-card games to keep their portable players satisfied in between big-name releases. We'll soon see the old faithfuls of falling block puzzlers and fishing simulators get new coats of paint. No pachinko for a while, thankfully. And to that similar end, let's take a quick look at the GBC's first Shogi title. I say quick look because despite having played a good number of Japanese chess cartridges, as Shogi is sometimes called, while reviewing the original Game Boy library, I'm still completely at a loss as to what the rules are, and to be perfectly blunt with you, I'm not interested enough to try to learn them. Taking place on a 9x9 board instead of an 8x8 one, the premise of Shogi is much like regular chess in that by using your assortment of pieces, pawns, knights, generals, and so on, you need to try to trap the opposing team's king into such a position that no move can be made where the king is not in danger. The pieces have different movesets to chess, and the promotion idea plays more of a prominent tactical role. Throughout the game, you can promote your individual units with their own specific upgrade, which gives them a brand new set of rules dictating their movement. Also, there are certain instances in the game where you can utilize a piece stolen from your opponent on your own team, making for quite aggressive contests at times. Nevertheless, it's clear the two games have a common root game somewhere in history. The original Game Boy library had a fair selection of Shogi games, but they weren't all straight-up Shogi sims. Some, such as the Tsume Shogi titled ones, saw you needing to use the rules of the game to solve certain puzzles or get out of pre-arranged predicaments. Of course, these were no less dependent on your actually knowing the rules. In authentic Shogi King, you actually get both game types. You can play the standard Shogi with a few variations around what pieces you start with, as well as a puzzle game where you need to checkmate the king using whatever small selection of units you're given. It's safe to say the AI is not up to the standards set by the very impressive algorithm used in The Chessmaster. Admittedly, it still trounces me with zero problems, and you won't notice much difference between the three difficulty modes, but at least the lack of computation time makes for a breezy game with little waiting around. If you wanted to learn the rules of the game, you do have the option of allowing the CPU to play against itself, although while the moves the computer makes will be legal, they might not necessarily be intelligent, often with both sides performing near mirror images of each other. Plus, with so little computation time, you'll have a deal of a time trying to follow what's going on, everything moves so quickly. Shogi-O is pretty ugly, both from an audio perspective and the great block of diarrhea color that makes up the board. From a gameplay point of view, there's really nothing new here, and the old stuff is only executed to the barest minimum of effort. If the only reason for your cart existing is to provide a colorized version of what already exists 10 times over, you could at least lean into that side of things. This fundamentally serves no real purpose.